Good morning, class 12th. Commerce chapter, financing. Under financing, the topic is capital structure for today. So, first of all, what is the meaning of capital structure? The meaning of capital structure basically is the ratio between different types of securities. Different types of securities. What are the different types of securities? You must be aware. A company issues, we are talking about a company basically. It issues shares, equity shares, preference shares, debentures. These are the different kind of securities. Okay. Different types of securities which are issued by a company, obviously to raise funds, to raise finance or funds. Just a moment. Example I'll give, and that will make things clear. Now suppose a company issued equity shares of rupees 50 lakhs, and it also issued preference shares, that's the second type of shares, of rupees 10 lakhs, and it further raised 40 lakh rupees by issue of debentures. So debentures were issued of rupees 40 lakhs. So children, the total funds, as you can see, raised by the company, 50 plus 10 plus 40, that makes it rupees 100 lakhs, which means 1 crore. Okay, now how do we how do we find out the capital over here? So capital structure over here would be just the ratio between the three securities. See, I'm writing equity shares is to preference shares, I'm writing in short, is to debenture, DEB for debenture. As you can see, 50, I'll write 50, then is to 10, then is to 40. Zeros get cancelled. Okay, 5 is to 1 is to 4 is the ratio. We arrive at this ratio. This is the ratio in which these three securities have been issued. So this is an example of capital structure. We can view capital structure from a different aspect. And what is that aspect? In the form of how much is equity. Equity means the owner's funds, owned capital. And what is the debt? Debt means whatever money we have borrowed. So children, you are aware that when a company issues shares, like over here, see the cursor, equity shares and preference shares, 50 and 10 lakhs, that makes it 60 lakhs. Okay, so 60 lakhs rupees have been collected by selling shares. Don't get confused between equity shares and the word equity. Okay, the word equity means shareholders funds or the owner's capital, which comprises of equity share capital and preference share capital. So as you can see, 50 plus 10 lakhs, 50 lakhs plus 60 plus 10 lakhs makes it 60 lakhs. 60 lakh is your equity, that is the owner's fund, that is the shareholders funds, and the money raised by issue of debentures is 40 lakhs. Okay, that is the borrowed borrowed funds. You cancel it further, zeros get cancelled, so you get 6 is to 4. Further you cancel it by 2. So 3s are 6, 2s are 4. 3 is to 2 is another way of looking at the capital structure of this company. This is what is capital structure. I hope this is clear. And now we proceed with something called capital gearing or financial leverage, children. Okay. Meanwhile, let me scroll the another sheet. Wait for a while. is another document. And now, okay, now children, we have a concept called capital gearing. Okay, we also call it financial leverage. By now, I think you are clear with the concept of equity, that is the owned capital, the owner's capital, and the debt, which is the borrowed capital. Okay. So basically, capital gearing is the ratio between debt and equity. That you'll do in accounts also, debt equity ratio. Now, in the capital structure of a company, equity is less than the debt. The proportion of debt is higher than that of equity. Borrowed capital is more than the owned capital. Then we say, then it is called high capital gearing. High capital gearing. How will you remember this? Children, gear in a vehicle. We have first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and fifth gear. You will agree with me, when the speed of the vehicle is highest, you also put the highest gear, isn't it? Fifth gear you will put only when the speed is at the highest. And with high speed, the risk becomes high. So remember that high capital gearing means high risk, and that high risk will be because of high debt. When the company is in too much of debt, when the company has borrowed a lot, it's under the burden of debt. So when the proportion of debt is high in the capital structure as compared to equity, we say that the capital is geared high. This is financial terminology. Okay. Children, that's also called, we can visualize this in a form of a rectangle, a kind of visual I'm giving you. It's a rectangle. Now let's say this rectangle shape is denoting the total capital. Now equity I'm writing over here. Equity is here, and this is the portion of debt. So what do you see here? That the proportion of debt is more in this rectangle. The area of debt is more than the area of equity. It simply means capital is geared high. Now here we say, when the capital is geared high, we also use another thing. We call it trading on thin equity. Thin equity, children. Can you see the the portion of equity is thinner and the proportion of debt is higher, isn't it? So this is trading on thin equity. Capital geared high or trading on thin equity is the same thing. And now we move on to the next one. That is when a company has more of equity than debt. It means the owner's capital is more than the borrowed capital, children. Then it is called low capital gearing. What do you call it? Low capital gearing. For the simple reason I told you, remember that relation with the vehicle. When you are driving a vehicle slowly, it will be on first gear. It means the gear will be at the lowest, which means the risk will be at a low speed. The risk of meeting with an accident is low. It's just a comparison I'm giving so that you remember. High gearing of capital means high risk that will happen because of high debt. Okay. Low capital gearing means low risk than that is going to happen when you have borrowed less. The proportion of debt is low, leading to low risk. It is called low capital gearing. And now another visual I'm giving you so that you remember in an easy way. If I give you a visual that, okay, imagine that this rectangle is denoting what? It's denoting the total capital of a company, and the capital structure is like this. Equity I'm writing over here, children, and debt I am writing over here. You'll agree with me, you can see this much, that the area occupied by equity in this rectangle is higher than the area occupied by the debt, which simply means that the proportion of equity is more. The company has more of owner's capital, that is shareholders funds, and less of borrowed funds, that is debt. So we call it trading on thick equity. Thick equity, you'll never forget. See, why thick equity? You can see which rectangle is thicker. You see this image now. You'll agree, you will yourself say that the thicker part is of equity. So we also call it trading on thick equity. In the book, simply the statement has been written. Now, with this visual, you will remember. I hope this is clear. And then